Welcome to this video, round 5 of the candidates, and we are carrying Kramnik against Aronian, the two pre-tournament favorites by most experts, and yeah, obviously very important game. They are both on +1, have won a game, and in case of Aronian, he won 2 games but lost one. So they have the same score. They are trailing Arnold by 1 win. And this game is obviously very important. And this is not just because of the point that is distributed in the game itself. It's also to be noted that the tiebreak in case of 2 players being on equal points after the 14 rounds, the first tiebreak is the individual score between them. So if you look at the round 1 win of Arnold, it was very important that he beat Aronian. So if he will be on even points with Aronian at the end, he has very good chances to have the better tiebreak there. So this is a kind of a point with an extra. So very important game. So let's see what happens. Kramnik playing d4. Not a surprise there. He's mixing within the closed games d4, c4, knight a3, but d4 the most frequent move. And Aronian is going for this move order. He's ready to play the Nimzo in case of knight c3, but Kramnik playing knight f3. And here Aronian usually plays the Queen's Gambit, which he does here. He only rarely employs the Queen's Indian or other defenses. d5 is his main weapon. For a while he was also employing this move order to get to the Queen's Gambit, but he had suffered some defeats in this line, so he avoids that now with the knight f6 e6 move order. Okay, d5, and here Kramnik has a choice, of course. Very often he had played g3 with much success, but this is very much a theoretical battleground now with long lines. And knight c3, yeah, the big issue is that if you go for a Queen's Gambit main line like that, there are lines like the Lasker where very often pieces are traded quickly and it can fizzle out to a draw. What is Kramnik doing? He's played e3. Quite a surprise. It's not the most common move, but in a way it looks passive because it keeps this bishop locked in, but in some way it is one of the more aggressive moves, and this is because the long theoretical lines that might trade off pieces are not possible. Here white is developing in a more slow fashion, but at the same time he avoids any early simplifications, and we see that his development plan has some bite to it. Aronian played b6 relatively quickly, so he was not completely taken aback by that. b6, knight c3, bishop b7. This makes lots of sense. Black is putting this bishop on the long diagonal and therefore trying to address his standard problem in the Queen's Gambit, declined quickly the bishop on c8. This position that we have now on the board is in fact quite often arising from a Queen's Indian move order, so something like that. This is the way it is reached quite more often. Okay, so what is Kramnik doing now? He's exchanging on d5. This is maybe somewhat strange looking, because why would white take on d5 exactly now? Yeah, the thing is, in this position black is recapturing with the pawn. If he takes with the knight, at some point white will prepare for e4, and this is very much similar to the Queen's Indian Petrosian, where white has not played a3, so he's almost a tempo up. Not so great. Black wants to take with the pawn, and this way white has reached a structure where he enjoys an extra pawn in the center, so good central control. And long term he has 2 basic plans. He can try to push e4. We can look at this after this, the check. He's provoking c6 here, so c6, bishop b3. One plan is e4. This was why the check was inserted, so that with c6 black is blocking a bit of this bishop. It's diagonal. For example, this type of e4 push can become very relevant if black is developing with bishop d6. I can show you an example. Aronian is playing bishop e7. If he plays bishop d6, which looks more natural, then he must be ready for this type of push. Here, the bishop is not so great on d6. Black would very much prefer to have it on e7 to have more cover for the king side. White is slightly more comfortable here. He played bishop e7 to be more effectively placed against the e4 idea. So castles, and now b3. Yeah, white is going to fianchetto. And the big idea in the long run for white is to put a knight on e5 and support it possibly with f4. This is also why after knight bd7, bishop b2, a popular move here, this has been played for a number of times, a popular move here is the move bishop d6. For example, this has been played by Karpov in one important game in a candidates match in the 90s against Gelfand. Yeah, bishop d6, a very logical move. It just covers e5, so that knight e5 is simply losing a pawn. This makes it more difficult for white to follow up with this idea with knight e5. White very often continues in an entirely different fashion now. One idea is this regrouping, intending knight f5, and maybe in the long run prepare for something in the center. Note that a very important feature of this position is there are all pieces on the board. It will become an interesting fight only later. It's not a direct clash, but when both forces actually meet, they still have, let's say, all their troops together, and it's not as it is in, let's say, the Lasker variation of the Queen's Gambit, where you trade off piece after piece after piece, and easily it fizzles out to a draw. So this also would have been an interesting choice. But Aronian played rook e8, and this almost invites knight e5. So he's ready for this sharp battle with the knight on e5. Kramnik is going for that. Bishop d6 now and f4. This is what Aronian could have prevented, but it seems that he's not afraid of this situation and actually welcomes that the whole battle is sharpening up now. Yeah, why is it sharpening up? Well, this is just a strong piece on e5, and black cannot take it ever because of the fork. Yeah, cannot ever take it. It's forking pieces. And it's very difficult to get rid of this piece. So is it just bad for black? No, it isn't. Black has counterplay, and this is because e4 is also a weak spot. He will get counterplay on this square. And yeah, this means there's a sharp battle coming, especially considering how many of white pieces have, let's draw this anew, how many of white pieces are actually pointing towards the king side, even the bishop here. White can easily get the queen into the play, the rook into the play. So everything that white has is geared towards black's king. So a crisis is very much likely to happen soon. After f4 he played c5 really quickly. It's hard to play without c5, so very logical move. And Kramnik played queen to f3, also very standard in this position type to cover e4. So knight e4 is not easily possible now. Yeah, what should black do here? Aronian, I think, is playing in a very logical manner. He took on d4 and then played bishop to b4. And this I like very much because black's play is very straightforward. What he thinks is, okay, e4 is my spot for counterplay, and I'm not able to go there at the moment. If you look at this, white has protected everything nicely and wins a pawn. So he's just playing bishop b4, possibly intending just to take here and plant this knight on e4. Why not? This is a very good spot for the piece. And white wants to avoid that. He plays knight e2. And the knight is heading over to the king side anyway, where it is very useful for further attack on the king. Yeah, but now after knight e2, black can play knight e4. It is nicely protected now, the e4 square, so you can centralize the knight. Yeah, and what black is in a way banking on or hoping for is that the knight on e4 is really a piece that cannot be attacked by a pawn anymore, as the d4 and f4 setup, this kind of stonewall setup, has weakened d4. And black actually can play f6 at some point to make sure that the knight on e5 has to leave or has to exchange itself. Yeah, so this is what black is hoping for, the good structure. a3 was played now. And yeah, well, here we need to briefly check what about knight d2. Is this a move? Yeah, it's really greedy, this move. And in fact, if you analyze it a bit, you'll find out that this is not working at all. White has two very good replies. One is bishop h7, kind of a flashy way to play. Yeah, like that.
Check. Check.
Yeah, and now white has a good choice. He can move the rook or just take here. Something like that is it's not going to end well. White has even extra material and still a great attack. And on top of all of that, after knight d2, white can also play the very simple move queen h3 and win it in a very simple fashion, attacking h7. And now b4 is also hanging. Something like that is
check.
Entirely unplayable. It's not even a material problem for white, besides the overwhelming attack. Yeah, knight d2 is not on at all. He played bishop to f8. And yeah, where else? The bishop is nice on f8 to defend. Now rook d1. Yeah, knight d2 at some point is a threat. So rook d1 makes lots of sense. Yeah, now Aronian is playing the move a6. Yeah, an interesting point here is, if you want a small tactical exercise, what does happen after the move f6 here, which I already described as being one of black's main ideas for getting counterplay, getting rid of the knight on e5. Yeah, treat this as an exercise. I'll be silent for a couple of seconds so that you can pause the video. White to play here, and what is he able to do? Alright, I'll show you the move now. White wins with the move queen takes e4. It's quite funny. Yeah, okay. If you take the queen, there's bishop c4 check. And we see that this is diagonal is enormously weakened. And following this line, it's quite funny how many pieces white is winning. This knight is just winning two minor pieces. And of course, with it, the game always check. So very, very funny sequence. f6 was simply would have been a huge blunder. Okay, Aronian obviously didn't fall for that. He played a6, which is a multi-purpose move. Yeah, the most important things it does is it prepares b5, also giving some room for the queen. Yeah, and it prevents any possible bishop b5 moves. So a good move. Kramnik is playing a4. He wants to prevent b5 for the time being. Rook c8. Yeah, useful, putting the rook on a half-open file. Black is simply relying on the solidity of his position. He has not weakened anything on the king side. So it's unlikely that white should have something, yeah, brilliant coming up. But it's still, there are lots of pieces that are near black's king or nearing black's king. Queen h5. This is very, very important. In order to get anywhere, there need to be some kind of pawn move on the king side. So white is provoking that by attacking on f7, g6. must be played. And now knight h3, attacking the knight on d7. Yeah, and Aronian, I think, again, chooses the sharpest continuation here. He plays knight d to f6. It's probably okay, yeah, but I mean, all with the grain, all difficult to tell because it's such a complicated position. There was a simpler alternative, but also, as mentioned, less sharp. He also could have played f5. I don't really think there's something entirely wrong with this idea. On the other hand, it's of course a move that, yeah, it's in a way not very ambitious. Black is just, yeah, trying to close the position as much as possible. But it does not seem to be bad, really. I don't think that white has anything great here. If he tries for something very direct with g4, there's knight takes e5, after which this capture is probably not too great because of queen g5. And after d takes, yeah, well, black has this check coming, and I don't know, this seems entirely unclear to me. If you look at this, let's say king move, there's d4 coming, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really see anything wrong with f5, but Aronian's move is probably alright as well. It's the sharper move because long term you still have this f6 idea, and yeah, white is not like winning instantly, so why not play knight df6? Yeah, and but Kramnik is pushing. He's going for f5. You need to get something going here. Knight here, and the knight to g3 might attack the e4 outpost. You need to open up something, and f5 is the logical move. Yeah, here there are the first direct ways where black can go wrong. I mean, just to show how dangerous the position really is. Let's start first what Aronian played. He played g5, yeah, keeping it as close as possible, and this seems to be alright. There was an alternative defense, rook c7, to cover the 7th rank. This also seems to be okay, but a move like bishop g7, which looks completely normal, can actually lead to some serious problems already. If we look at this, if white takes now on e4, and black recaptures with the pawn, yeah, you need to do that. This is not possible at all. Something like that leads to absolute disaster. Something like that. Black is not going to survive that. So needs to take with the pawn. And after that, white has various dangerous attacking possibilities. One is to sacrifice on f7 or even d5. Yeah, intending to sacrifice on f7. And this can easily lead to a quick defeat, something like that. And that's it. White is winning already. This is not playable at all. Queen takes, loses the queen to this discovered check, and bishop takes. You're not going to survive as well. Look at this, threatening g7. It's just a complete disaster. Yeah, white's attack is dangerous. Black must be really alert here. Bishop g7, as mentioned, normal looking, but a problem. Yeah, he played g5 as mentioned, trying to keep it closed, the f-file, and this seems to be an okay defense. Okay, knight g3, very logical. This knight needs to be attacked. It's the cornerstone of black's defense. Yeah, Aronian now played the move b5. I like it. It's a good active defense. It gets the queen into play and disturbs white a bit on the queen side. If you look at alternatives, just to show how dangerous it already is. If black takes, for example, and tries to cover here, white just plays h4 with an attack. it's already almost too much for black. If you do something like that, this is an additional attacking motif, and white will win here simply on g5. Yeah, it's really difficult to play. I like b5. I think Aronian defends excellently b5. Yeah, what should white do? I guess taking is the best move. This is what Kramnik did. And now queen to b6. Yeah, here an interesting moment of the game. Kramnik now played the move king to h1 after a couple of minutes of consideration. And I think this is a good move, really. He also could have tried to keep a pawn here. I mean, black is sacrificing a pawn, actually. But I don't really like it. It's not so great in terms of the initiative if white takes. We can consider that. If white takes on a6 and black recaptures, one of black's idea is to exchange off the somewhat passive b7 bishop for the d3 bishop, and at the end have this strong knight on e4. In this line, white has some attacking ideas as well, but I don't know how good it really is. I mean, white can take on e4, and this is an interesting line. In fact, one reason being that the capture with the pawn is not really great because of this. And queen g3. This is again a very dangerous attack that black is probably not going to survive. But there is knight e4, of course. This capture. And here it's really crazy. The craziest thing is that white can play both knight d7 or knight f7. On knight f7, black actually has a funny way to defend. He can take on d3, rook takes, and then rook c7, which looks completely bonkers, but it's really good. The knight has no square to go to. It's quite funny, as knight e5 is answered by simply the capture. Yeah, this is why Kramnik played king h1, this type of idea. And here this seems completely unclear. White can take here, and now he has 3 pawns for the piece, but it's not really convincing. Yeah, and well, this is another idea that white can try. Queen d6, and then possibly, more than one possible. There's also f6 here. I just noticed that. Also, interesting move. Well, but it amounts to the same. Something like that is probably going to happen, and I'm not so sure how much this type of position really promises white. This fantastic knight is just great, and what is this bishop doing? Oops, yeah, it's this bishop. What is this bishop doing? I mean, this position would probably quite good for black if it weren't for the pawn on g5, which always I don't know, means that black must be cautious. Yeah, white's extra pawn on b3 is meaningless. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this capture on a6, it feels like it's conceding some of white's initiative. It's just not really focused on attacking this move. B takes a6. King h1 I really like. It's a good human decision. You want to attack here and not grab a pawn. So black recaptured, and after that bishop takes e4 was played. This also was Kramnik's idea when he played king h1. There were alternatives, of course. White can also try moves like knight h5, and they also lead to interesting play. But I think bishop e4 is really the move that sets the most problems for black, and therefore it's the best move. An easy variation to calculate is knight takes e4. This is not playable at all because of this winning instantly. It's just the queen breaking through on h7, something like that.
Check.
It's an absolute disaster. Yeah, black must take with the pawn. It's here, must take with the pawn. There's no alternative. And now Kramnik's a big point. He's playing d5. And this is exactly why king h1, this entire concept, was really strong. Look at this. You needed to do that. Otherwise, it's simply not possible to push the pawn. And this is now a really, really dangerous attacking position, because the bishop is opened up. The sleeping bishop on b2 now gets to be a very, very good piece. And black, in fact, cannot take on d5 in any way. If you take with the bishop, start with that, white has yeah, even more than one good move, but knight g4 is very strong. It is a double attack on f6 with a check, and d5 hangs. Black only can take, and after this he threatens queen takes g5, winning, and there's also the bishop hanging. So that's a complete win, very easy. And if he goes knight d5, the easiest way, more than one way again, but it's easiest to just take this. Bishop takes and knight d7. And well, this will be a monstrous check with queen h7 mate in the mix. It's just a complete win. So black cannot take the pawn. So what should he do? Aronian played e3, cold-blooded defense, the best move again. It's really up to this point, I guess, almost perfectly played by both players. Really great, really great. And it introduces counterplay. The active defense is the best defense. Yeah. Okay, Kramnik now played knight g4. I think this makes lots of sense. This is the defensive piece you need to exchange. Black took, only move. Queen takes and h6. Queen takes g5 was the simple threat. And now the next move I think is also, yeah, quite logical. Knight e4, as sharp as possible, putting this knight into the attack and threatening knight f6. Yeah, and we see now that it's already a bit difficult for black to defend with yeah, let's say passive means. If he tries to hold this position together with something like, let's say, bishop g7, for example, you can just take here, king takes, and then f6. Check. Yeah, and knight g5 will decide the issue. There's no way to hold something like that with mate to come. Black needs to do something creative now, and what is the defense? Aronian plays a very strong move, rook c2. The only move, but still it is strong. Yeah, it's an active defense, and it's all based on a queen sacrifice. After knight f6, of course, black cannot move the king. It would lose everything. You need to sacrifice the queen, and this is what Aronian did. He took on f6, bishop takes, and now e2. We see that while doing that, he has kept a little bit of time on the clock. Black has 25 minutes left, so he's got more time than Kramnik. And after e2, here the game has reached its ultimate crisis. What is going on? Very tricky. Okay, black is forking both rooks here. So he's bound to get some of the material back. At the moment he only has a bishop for the queen. It's not like much. And it's white's move, of course. And yeah, what is the best move here? In fact, Kramnik, I think, played the best move. He sacrificed on g5 this bishop just to break through immediately. It's not really advisable to do anything slowly here. Let's say bishop a1, just for argument's sake. Black takes on d5, and now it's black with the attack. Yeah, I'm drawing arrows like here. Now it's black with the attack. If white tries to cover that, okay, I'm going to take here. This is
checkmate.
Even a mate to completely reverse roles here. Yeah, you must be really direct here. White has absolutely no time for slow moves. Bishop takes g5 must be played. Funny enough, now Kramnik has got some time here on the clock. They probably had some relay issues, but it is clear that Aronian had more time on the clock, but probably Kramnik's clock here on the IC is not so precise. Yeah, okay. This is the position of the game. What Black plays now is the only mistake that he commits in the whole game. He plays bishop takes d5, and this actually should lose. But we see what happens. What Black should do actually is to really just take the rook here.
Check.
Yeah, like that, and now grab on g5. It turns out that if you analyze it with the help of an engine,
Check.
that this position is really just a draw. I know it's probably not so. It's probably hard to believe, but the computer is very insistent on this being a complete draw, and after looking at it for a while, I'm pretty. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I'm always skeptical about the computer evils, and you should be. I mean, there are often enough problems with them, but here it is really a very concrete problem. How is White going to attack here, like king? You have the problem that you cannot ever use the rook because of a back rank mate, so something like that, of course.
Check.
Must avoid. You must play. You can only attack with the queen and probably use f6. If we analyze f6 for starters, Black is going here, and well, he has this counterplay against the king and the g2 pawn. White, how is White going to improve his position? I really don't see how. You cannot move the d pawn, of course. This would simply open up this diagonal. And how is White ever going to get ahead here? You can play rook g1 to cover the pawn, but well, Black is just staying on the second rank. And if he gets bishop takes d5 in, he's even better. So White is probably advised to just take the draw with this perpetual check. There is not, there's nothing more. He must take the draw. But Aronian played bishop takes d5, and I guess I'm not sure what exactly he did overlook there. But now in this position, Kramnik can win the game. He has, in fact, I believe. Yeah, in fact, what he played seems to win as well, but there were clearer alternatives. The clearest win here is bishop e7.
Check.
Which is, of course, checking the king. And what should Black play? Probably a king to h7. And is this the best one? I'm a bit confusing myself with that. No, bishop g7 is actually the better move. Yeah, the point is that f6 is not helping.
Check.
Yeah, this is in fact okay for Black. But what can White do? Yeah, White in this position can, instead of playing f6, can go for... Wow, my notes are a real mess here. He can play rook g1. This is the important point. Yeah, the idea being that if Black now takes the rook on d1, just taking here with the queen, and then d5 is hanging. Yeah, and here Black will lose more material. He does not have enough counterplay. He cannot cover the bishop on g5, as this is just protected. And the relatively best line is probably something like that. Rook g2, queen d5.
Check.
Something like that. And this is, after Black loses the b pawn, this is probably a relatively trivial win for White. Yeah, tough to calculate that, really. There's also bishop f6 check. Yeah, this is the problem of this position. You have many moves, they all look good, But what exactly is the best one? Yeah, this is comparable. In fact, this seems to win as well, quite similar to the other line. But here, rook e4 is a move that might... I'm sorry.
Check.
Rook e4 is a move that might irritate white. Queen f3 still seems to win, but it looks awfully complicated. Yeah, those moves, bishop e7 check and bishop f6 check, they it seems that white was winning with that. But
check.
Bishop h6, what Kramnik played, is also fine. King h7. And exactly here's the big spot. And this might be one of the key spots of the whole tournament. Very likely, actually, because both players are very likely to be in contention for the rest till the end for this desired first place. Yeah, here white Kramnik could have won the game with rook g1. Instead he took, but let's look at rook g1. This we already saw the idea, this prophylactic cover. It seems that after bishop takes h6, yeah, that's the toughest try. This actually is relatively easy, and probably not what he had overlooked. Attacking here, and this as well. White is very easily winning here. So it's probably bishop h6 where he saw the problem. Rook d2 e1. And then black can still hang on. I mean, it's not like black will resign the position, but white is winning nevertheless. Here black can try to hang on with moves like rook e5 or rook e4. But in the long run, white should win this. At the moment, he looks a bit tied up, but okay, it's a queen against two bishops. And white just needs to be a bit patient here. Moves like h3, later rook a1, rook ge1. Yeah, the thing is, you have really substantial material plus already, so you can quite often return some material to clarify matters. Yeah, this is really a missed chance. What I actually believe is that that Kramnik had calculated the line in the game.
Check.
Capture here and here, rook g1, as we saw, was winning. I believe, what I do believe is he calculated the line that happened in the game, and he maybe had some small, he didn't probably evaluate the endgame right, because what we see now is a complete trade down to an ending. He took on f8, and now the next couple of moves are completely forced. Black needs to
check.
Get the rook back with a check, and now he took on g2. And yeah, white now, as this is threatening a fantastic discovery, must give up the queen.
Check.
Completely forced. And this rook endgame, at first sight, I can easily believe that Kramnik believed that he is winning here, because white has an extra pawn, the h pawn, and after king f3 he's even got the more active king. So isn't white winning? To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. When I analyzed it, I couldn't find a win for white, and in the game Kramnik couldn't find a win as well, which is the far more reliable indication, of course. I'm really sure that me plus an engine is weaker in the endgame than Kramnik. Yeah, okay. I really can't tell if white still has a win here, but I doubt it. Let's look at some concrete moves. Black is, of course, getting the king near the action, and now activates the rook. White has this active king. It's hard to believe, but it seems that it is not enough. He has to worry about the h-pawn. The h-pawn cannot really be promoted anytime. It's just useful to have as a decoy. What white really wants to do is to get to the b-pawn without giving up the f-pawn. This would be nice. But it's very hard to do that. In the game, he got close, king d4. And now it's very important, the next defensive setup that Aronian is going for. He plays rook c8, and this is very important. You shouldn't take the pawn and give up the b pawn in a situation where white keeps the f pawn. This is critical. I mean, I'm pretty sure, almost sure that it is lost even. But he defended much better. He played rook c8. Note that rook h8 also was last move before the time control. Rook c8, and now the rook is blockading the c file while the king is approaching the f pawn. And here, I really don't know how white is going to get anywhere here. After h4, he played the move rook e8, which seems to be fine. Another idea is here even b4, intending rook c3. It's I mean, if white has some idea, if he has some idea to win, it's really a matter of very subtle maneuvers, because the straightforward things simply don't work. If we look at this position here with b4, for example, this counter play with rook c3, I couldn't find anything. Let's just play it out to show the general idea. Yeah, black is trying to get the pawn, takes, and now king takes f5. And it's simple as that. The f pawn is providing enough counterplay. For example, rook here, rook h3, b4, rook h4, b5, rook b4, b6. Yeah, and now we send the f pawn, and at the end we get this typical endgame, something like that. And black will promote the pawn to a draw. And this is the general drawing idea here, to at the end have the f pawn to get the counterplay. What Aronian is doing is very similar. He played rook e8, and after king c5,
check,
gave the check, king d6. It is very important that king c6 can even be answered by rook takes f5, as this king and pawn endgame is a draw.
check,
This is a draw. Black is quick enough with his pawn to secure the draw. Yeah, Kramnik went to d6, and now this is the counterplay. It's quite similar to what I've shown with b4, rook c3, and it leads to actually
check,
the same situation with the f pawn getting on the way to get the counterplay. He got this pawn here.
check,
And okay, here there's absolutely no way for white to make any headway.
check, check, check.
They really played it out to bare kings. So really a titanic struggle, and a great game by both players, really. It was a super complicated position, really super complicated, and they only made like 2 mistakes, which is simply great. Here, if we go back to the critical moment, bishop d5 was Aronian's only mistake in the game. Really, everything else was great, I think. And of course, for Kramnik, he could have won with this rook g1 idea. After this check, this or this, like he played,
check,
he only needs to find rook g1 to win the game, which would have been, of course, huge in the tournament. It would have sent Kramnik to +2 in the lead, together with Arnold and Aronian back to 50%. But as it turned out, with the draw, the situation has not changed fundamentally. Both players are on +1 and in good shape. And Nevertheless, I think this kind of game proves that they really are playing on an exceptionally high level. You cannot play a complicated position like that without making any sort of mistake. So it's completely inappropriate to say, oh, they blundered. They didn't. It's just humans playing on an exceptionally high level, but you cannot play perfectly. All right. I hope you enjoyed the game, and yeah, you'll join again tomorrow when coverage commences with round 6. Thanks for watching.